What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It's really early on July the 4th morning, 2019. Happy birthday, America. Hopefully you all, or most of you, are off work tomorrow or aren't doing anything to take your time away from your family and all that good stuff, and you can celebrate the holiday. America, the greatest country in the world. Love it or leave it, or at least respect it or leave it. That's my motto and the way that I feel about it. So we're going to get right into the plays for the Auburn Tigers for the 2019 season. Going to look at the schedule and get a Vegas win total over or under prediction for the Auburn Tigers. This is a team that whenever I do any kind of prediction on, they are really, really hard for me to get a beat on most of the time because they're just unpredictable. Some years when you think they're going to be really good, they end up being mediocre. Some years you think they're going to be mediocre or not very good, they go compete for a national championship. Actually, the past few years, they've kind of settled in a little bit into that 7 or 6, 8 and 5 role, but I still don't trust that they won't just like fly off the handle and win 12 games out of some unknown reason. But I'm going to give you my best play on them and best prediction. So in 2018, the Tigers were 8 and 5. They won their bowl game 63-14 over Purdue, the Music City Bowl. They were 6 and 7 ATS. So a little bit of a money burner there with Auburn if you were betting on them. Gus Malzahn, 53 and 22 in his career at Auburn. Of course, he competed for the national championship at the end of the 2013 season. This man seems like he's on the hot seat every single year in the offseason. They're talking about he's on the hot seat, yet they give him contract extensions, and yeah, he seems to kind of stick it out and make it happen when he needs to. So he had the number 11 recruiting class in the country in 2019, which was pretty good. Signed 2 5-star players, Owen Peppo, who is an outside linebacker, and Bo Nix, dual threat quarterback, son of former Auburn quarterback Patrick Nix. This guy figures to be in the starting quarterback race for them as well. He got a new offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham from Memphis. Of course, we know Memphis has a really high-powered offense. He's worked there for the past 3 years, I believe, under Mike Norvell, as 7,300 yards last year and 43 points per game is what they put up at Memphis. Malzahn apparently is going to be calling the plays for Auburn this year. He called the plays in the Music City Bowl, and they had quite the performance there. I actually went back on YouTube a couple of days ago and watched like the 20-minute highlight of that bowl game just to kind of refamiliarize myself with Auburn and what they got going on. And, man, I'm telling you, they really just dominated Purdue in all facets of that game. Looked like a totally different team than what we had seen most of the year. Of course, the quarterback position is going to be key here. That's key in Malzahn's offense all the time. Past 2 years, they had Jared Stidham at quarterback. He moves on. Most of the time when you have a 2-year, 3-year, or whatever starter leave your team, it's a huge loss. I don't know that it's such a huge loss, though, for Auburn, to be honest with you. I don't think that Stidham was really the kind of quarterback that Malzahn wanted to win games with. And I don't know. For some reason, this guy just, to me, seemed to kind of lack some of the intangibles as you look for in a quarterback, some of the leadership stuff. So hopefully either redshirt freshman Joey Gatewood or true freshman Bo Nix is going to be the cream that rises to the top this year and lead that team. Gatewood seems to be the one who's the front runner right now. Both of them are similar in the way they play. They're both dual threat guys. Gatewood reminds a lot of people of Cam Newton. He's like 6'5", 237. He was in the program last year. He's I don't know if he's either a 5 or 4-star recruit from the Jacksonville, Florida area. And he got a good mind for football. They had some maturity issues with him last year a little bit. They also have another kid that's in the mix there too, but for all intents and purposes, it's between these two guys to make that offense go. At the running back position, they're pretty solid. Jartavius Whitlow returns this year. He had 6 touchdowns last year, 787 yards on the ground. He's kind of banged up a little bit late in the season. They also have Cam Martin as a capable backup to him. He had 488 yards on the ground, but only 1 touchdown. So Auburn should be decent at running back. At wide receiver, they returned Eli Stove and Will Hastings. Both these guys were injured and out for the year all season last year. Seth Williams, one that played last year, saw a lot of time, comes back, and Anthony Schwartz. This is a kid that really impressed me in that Music City Bowl. Just a little guy, and he is just lightning fast. He ran it out of the backfield a couple of times for him. He kind of reminds me, he's kind of like a Deebo Samuel type player that we had at South Carolina for the past few years. Offensive line, you're in good shape there. You got 5 starters returning. That's always huge. The line of scrimmage is, of course, where it all gets started. And you've got all the pieces back there. You're voted to be one of the best in the country along the front on the offensive line. On defense, once again, defense, that's touted to be one of the best in the country as well. Your defensive line is going to be strong from one end to the other. Marlon Davidson, D-tackle Derek Brown, back there, he had 4.5 sacks last year. Nick Coe kind of plays that buck, that kind of hybrid position. It's kind of linebacker / end. And Marcavius Big Cat Bryant, 3.5 sacks last year. At linebacker, you've lost a little bit there. You lost your leading tackler, Deshaun Davis, there, who went to the Bengals in the 6th round. KJ Britt seems to be the one that has the most experience at the linebacker position that will jump in there and see significant playing time. But there's some improvement to be made at that position. Defensive backfield, you got all 4 starters returning there. Led by Daniel Thomas, the second leading tackler on the team, plays that bantam safety position, and free safety Jeremiah Denson. Punting, 44.2 yards per game last year, or per punt, which is really solid. And Anders Carlson is your place kicker. He's only 15 or 25 on field goals last year, but all of his misses were longer than 50 yards. So, kind of solid, a little bit of improvement there. His brother was the place kicker there before him, so a lot of people will recognize that Carlson name. So, there you got it. The quarterback position is going to be, the sooner they can get it figured out, the better. Because your schedule this year is really tough, and we're going to go to Carolina Jackpot's big board and take a look at that schedule and try to come up with a win-loss total for the Auburn Tigers. There is the 2019 Auburn Tigers schedule, and it's a tough one. You've got a few gimme games here, but given the side of the SEC that you play on, the opposition that you'll face every year in your cross-divisional opponents this year, this is an unenviable schedule for anyone. So look at your gimme games real quick. The 14th of September, you got Kent State at home. That'll be a win for you. The 23rd of November, you have Samford, an in-state FCS school. That should be a win as well going away. The 7th, you play Tulane. That may be a little bit of a challenge for a while. Willie Fritz got that team playing pretty decent, but they're not going to be any match for you guys. You actually have a losing record to them all time, but you haven't played since like 1950. They used to be in the SEC at one time. So those are 3 wins right off the muscle, and we got to figure out if we can get you 5 more wins out of the schedule or not. You got Oregon in Arlington on the 31st of August. This is a game everybody's looking forward to. Of course, second year in a row that you open up with a Pac-12 opponent in a neutral site. Last year you played Washington in Atlanta, beat them 21-16. Pretty impressive victory for Auburn there. And this is a game that I feel like means a lot more to Oregon than what it means to Auburn. And they're kind of carrying the banner for their conference here. Of course, a lot of people have them pegged as the team that's going to win the Pac-12 North this year. They're returning all 5 starters on the offensive line. And, you know, they're really solid at the skill positions. Of course, Justin Herbert's their quarterback, a senior who is looked at by many to be probably the overall #1 draft pick this year. I'm going to look at, in a lot of these close matchups that I see you guys playing, your defensive line versus your opposition's offensive line, because I think that can be key. In this one, and you're actually favored in this one by 3, I am going to give you a loss in this game. And the reason why is that quarterback position, you're not going to be solidified in that right at this particular point in the season. It's the first game of the year. Like I said, that quarterback position is going to make this offense go. I think you're going to struggle against them a little bit offensively, and I think that their quarterback and their skill positions that they're returning, a lot of talent, they are going to be just a little bit too much for you. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Oregon's going to take the win here. We'll put a circle around that one as one to keep an eye on, though. But I think all signs point to Oregon winning this game. 21st, you're at Texas A&M. This is kind of a tough spot for you, too. You're 3-2 against A&M since they joined the conference. 2-0 in College Station. You know, they're replacing 2 up front on the offensive line, and they're tied in Jay Sternberger, but they have a really capable true freshman named Baylor Cupp coming in to take his spot. Kellen Mond returning at quarterback for them. You know, they've got the receivers and the skill positions there. They do need to replace their running back in Travion Williams. And, of course, I did a video on them a little bit earlier in the season. This is a road game. I don't see this one going that well for you. I'm going to give you a loss in this game. But, you know, one that bears watching. We could actually, you could actually pull that one out. I'm not going to be totally sold on it 100%, but I'm going to give you a loss in that one as well. I think I might be wrong on the 3-2 versus Texas A&M since they joined. I think I'm looking back at as far as 2014. I'm not exactly sure what your total record is because they actually joined in 2012. So my mistake on that one. Mississippi State at home the next week on the 28th. This is a team last year that you guys actually lost to 23-9 on the road when you were ranked number 8. Kind of put you in a little bit of a tailspin because you lost the next week to Tennessee. That was a really bad loss for you guys. They return a lot of receiver production on offense. Of course, their quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, is gone. That was a guy that really didn't fit the system that their coach, Joe Moorhead, wants to run. But he definitely has a quarterback now that can run his type of system because this kid played for him at Penn State. Tommy Stevens, he transferred in from Penn State. He's a senior. It's been a backup up there to Trace McSorley for a couple of years, and he'll run the Joe Moorhead type of offense. They also have 3 other young quarterbacks in their system. They're going to be more offensive production from Mississippi State this year than what you've seen in the past. They lost 7 starters off that defense, which was ranked number 1 in the country last year and featured 3 first-round draft picks. Leaning on the offense to carry the load there. This is a home game for you. I think that y'all should win this game. I think Mississippi State will be a little bit down because of that loss on defense there. But we'll put a watch on that one as well. That's not a given. Okay, so you have a stretch there of a couple of tough games in a row. And then you got to go on the road to Florida, the Gators. And this is the first time that you guys have played them since 2011. Last time you lost to them actually was in 2002. So it's been a long time since you took a loss on the chin to the Gators. Auburn's actually 5-1 against the rotational SEC East teams, meaning the team from the East that you alternate every year in and out. Georgia, of course, is your permanent East opponent. This year it's Florida. Last year it was Tennessee. Last year was actually the loss of Tennessee was the Only loss you've had versus one of those SEC East teams in that rotational type setting. Dan Mullen, Florida's coach, should be somewhat familiar with Gus Malzahn, or she should be really familiar with him. He coached for quite a number of years at Mississippi State. This team, Florida, is replacing 4 starters on the offensive line. However, this is going to be 6 games in to the season. Florida's got an easy game. The week before this, they play Towson, who I believe to be an FCS school. 3 returning wide receivers, and Felipe Franks, who is vastly improved over what he was in 2017 as a freshman. From last year, his numbers really took a flip. You have experienced defensive backs, but this is a road game. Another tough spot for you here. I'm going to give you a loss in this one too. We'll go ahead and put a watch on that one too. You see what we got here? We got a lot that we're putting watches on. You know, because I just don't. You just don't know what you're going to get out of Auburn. Like I say, you just do not know what you're going to get out of them. These are my educated best guesses on these. At Arkansas on the 19th, after a bye week, you've beaten them by 30 plus the last 3 meetings. Of course, they're still trying to rebuild that program under Chad Morris. I think Chad's going to get it turned around. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I think he's going to be improved this year. 2-10 last year, and had 2 losses to non-Power 5 teams, North Texas and Colorado State. I think Arkansas will at least double their win total, if not possibly flirt with a bowl bid. They could possibly do that if they could get to 6 wins somehow or another. Maybe I'll do a prediction video on them down the road, but I think you guys are going to take the win in this one. You just got too much talent, and they just don't have enough depth to keep up with you. If you take a look at Arkansas' second string, it's mostly freshmen and sophomores. I don't see them being competitive with you guys outside about the second quarter. You take the win at Arkansas there. I don't think this one's going to be a blowout, a 30-plus point margin game. I look for them to tighten it up somewhat, but I think you still take the win there. You're at LSU the next week. LSU, of course, going to have a strong defense this year versus your offense. You almost beat them last year. It was like a 1-point game there. They're returning 4 starting offensive linemen, ton of talent on offense. They're going to be more dynamic on offense as well. They're bringing a coach in, Joe Brady, who was a quarterback assistant, something with the New Orleans Saints there. Should be getting another dimension out of that offense. And Joe Burrow there. These games have been rather close the past few years. I don't think it's going to be as close this year. I can see you losing this one by 10 to 14 points. I'm just really high on LSU. I'm really high on that defense. I don't see you guys being able to pull this one out, especially with this one being on the road. I'm going to give you a loss in this game. And next week, at home against Ole Miss. That's a team that lost a lot of offensive production from last year. Lost their quarterback, Jordan Tamu, a couple of receivers, DK Metcalf, and another kid. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. They're returning their running back, Scotty Phillips, but I still don't think Ole Miss is going to be a match for you guys. A lot of people are actually predicting them to finish last in the SEC West this year behind Arkansas. So we're going to go ahead and give you a win at home against Ole Miss. Get your next bye week, and then you've got the Georgia Bulldogs coming into Auburn on the 16th. Of course, Georgia has got one of the best offensive lines in the country. Their running game, very, very productive. Last year, they ran for 238 yards per game and only passed for 226 yards per game, which is kind of unheard of. But that's what they do. That's what they do at Georgia. Of course, Jake Fromm, excellent game manager for Kirby Smart. He's just instilled a level of toughness there with that team that they were sorely lacking when Mark Richt was the coach. And they've made a lot of strides. And I think that this is a team that could end up unseating Alabama, and it could happen this year. The receiver position, they've lost a lot there. Of course, Jeremiah Holloman, they kicked him off the team, just about a week and a half ago, beat up his girlfriend, some kind of crazy stuff there. Really unfortunate. That was a pretty talented kid. But they have talent, speaking of that, to replace him with, and the rest of these starters that they lost for whatever various reasons. I don't look for that by this point in the season to be a real sore spot for them. I think you take the loss to these guys. You don't have a real good history against them of late. It's a rivalry game, though. I'm going to put a watch on it because I do expect Georgia to probably come into this game undefeated. I probably expect them to come in there undefeated. And we know last year they lost one regular season game and ended up being against LSU, which was in a tough spot for them too. And, run through a regular season totally undefeated is hard, and I expect that they will win this one, but I'm putting a watch on it too because, you guys with the quarterback situation and all that, you should be gelled and have that figured out by then. You should know whether Gatewood's the starter or whether Bo Nix is the starter. Georgia game bears watching, but I think they take the victory over you guys there. And, of course, the last week of the season, Iron Bowl against Alabama. You're 1-4 against these guys the last 5 games. They're replacing 3 offensive linemen. Of course, they recruit is amongst the best in the country. They'll have that replaced, and they'll have that clicking on all cylinders, I would expect, by the time you guys face them, protecting Tua Tagovailoa. I'm trying to say his name right. I don't think I've done it yet. They should be a lot more improved on the defensive side of the ball as well, especially in that back four, which kind of was a Achilles heel for them in that national championship game against Clemson. It looked really bad in that one. I expect Alabama to beat you guys in this game once again. This is a rivalry game too. We can put a watch on it. But I think they're just going to be too talented this year. And as a lot of people think, the popular opinion about Alabama this year is they're going to be really, really hungry and focused this year after the disappointment in the national championship game. So what does that leave us with here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-6. I don't think you're going to go 6-6. I think one of these games is going to go your way. I'm calling for 7-5 for Auburn this year. Calling for 7-5. That is my best educated guess that I could say. If I could flip-flop one of these to a win, it's either going to be the Oregon game, Texas A&M, possibly the game at Florida. I think the LSU game, the Georgia and Alabama, I think those are all but certain losses in my opinion. So 7-5 for the Auburn Tigers. All right, guys, there you got it. 6-6 is what I came up with. The win and loss total for Auburn. I just changed that to 7-5. I do think that you'll win one of those games that I marked down as a loss for you. But I do not see you getting to 8 wins. Bet the under on Auburn. Take the advice on that one. Bet the under on these guys. They're not going to get to 8 wins. In my opinion, that's not a slight on Auburn. I just think that the quarterback situation with 2 really young guys, albeit really talented young guys that you're trying to figure it out, is just going to be a tough road to hoe against this schedule you play. Your schedule is really tough. You've got 3 cream puff out-of-conference games, but the rest of your games in conference are tough. Playing Georgia as your permanent cross-division rival is always going to be tough. And playing Florida as the rotational one this year, that's not a good draw either. That's the number 2 team in the SEC East and a legitimate top 10 team as well. So 7-5, take the under on Auburn this year if you want to take the smart money on that one. All right, guys, that's about all I got for tonight. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you think I'm dumb, tell me I'm dumb. If you think this is a good prediction, tell me, hey, that's a good prediction. I enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Click the little bell icon to make sure you get all the updates and the notifications on the Carolina Jackpot videos. We do college football videos here all the time. Do lottery ticket scratch videos here all the time too, if that's your thing and that interests you. We do that here as well. And I do some other type videos too, just general old stuff. Even posted a video day before yesterday. My old pooch over here sunning herself out in that 95-degree heat. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that, and I'll see y'all later. Peace, and I'm out. Go Gamecocks.